This is for my mother, and it is called The Wendy Bird. Never forget the person inside. Peter Pan and Wendy and its connection to my life with my mum. My mum was born around 1937 and was christened Wendy. She was one of the first children named after the famous character in the story Peter Pan and Wendy, written by J.M. Barrie, founder of the Great Ormond Street Hospital in London. Wendy was the girl in Peter Pan's life who, when he was searching for his happy thought to help him fly and take him from Neverland and the struggles of his life, flew with him out of Neverland to find something he had lost but wasn't sure he needed, and eventually found in London. He initially found, through a window, Wendy and her brothers, who became part of the Lost Boys, the boys who stood for all the orphans who had been left and forgotten by adults, or, quotes, pirates, quotes. Basically, people who had let them down, even if it was not of their own doing. When we grow up, we try to clutch onto our inner child, the part of ourselves who represents utter joy, utter freedom. If we are lucky, we can hold on to a part of this within ourselves. But as we all know, this cannot go on forever. We all have to grow up, be responsible. Going back to my dear mum, who now at 86 has severe vascular dementia and Alzheimer's and is deteriorating aggressively, and we are 10 years in, and has in a way retreated to that childhood state, a mind that lives in the past joys of her freedoms of childhood, and at the same time feeling desperately the loss, just like a small child, for her parents, particularly her father, who she was inordinately fond of and close to. He too was an orphan, raised in a workhouse in London with no happy childhood freedoms, but still retained the joy and need for freedom, probably because of the restrictions and privation of his own childhood and the separation from his own brother and sister, who he never found again. I often muse, now that I am a grand myself, the reasons why my mum was called Wendy. A made-up name, a rare name, and yet one that suits her well. She, I have realised throughout my entire life, retained that lost boy youth, if you like, herself, her joy, her need to be free, but at the same time, the sadness and rage towards a mother who didn't understand her and was impossible to reach emotionally, and then a father who loved her utterly and wanted to protect her from harm. My father, I know, now particularly, protected her from so much. He and I would discuss in my teens the need to protect my mum from family emotional devastation. But it wasn't until he died, himself of Alzheimer's and dementia, after 10 years, I realised the extent of his protection of the child within, if you like. My mum was and is an amazing lady, has achieved so much as a mum, a role model, when it came to learning, working, etc., which always had an aura shining from her, even pre-dementia, an aura of Peter Pan, the need to keep the inner child and laughter alive. This I recognise in myself, still to this day, but have the other side too, reasoning as an adult like my dad. So why did I start writing this, you ask? Because on rereading Peter Pan and his love for Wendy, who became his touchstone to escape to another great adventure, I muse, why or what did my grandparents, particularly I wonder my grandpa, see in my mum as a newborn? Did he see the Wendy bird in my mum? I wish I could ask, because of the nature of just the name itself. I can't help feeling there was more to the naming than sheer chance. My mum will always be my Wendy bird, for her love of childhood, her need for a loving parent, of which I've become, the joy of flying, albeit by plane, feeling of her joy of life that she has passed on to me. It highlights why we need to talk to our parents as people, not just as parents, to understand them. Their past helps us, our children and grandchildren, to see us in a new light, a light always with a glow from Tinkerbell, a light that somehow should never leave us, even if it flickers faintly. So look to your dreams, follow that star that leads you to wherever your heart home takes you in the mornings. Because to live is an awfully big adventure. Wendy taught me that. I wish she still knew me. But one day, she will again, and we will talk again, as we once did. Thank you for listening. Happy New Year to you all. Lots of love. Carrie Pink.